up early at your polling unit on election day. If you show up early, it's one way to stop election rigging because it gives you an opportunity to observe every activity at your polling unit. Now, this will enable you cross-check the following sensitive materials. You've got to shine your eyes and ensure that these materials are available at your polling unit. 1 is the ballot papers, 2, result sheets, 3, the BVAS device. Now, before accreditation and voting begins, ensure you verify that the BVAS has 0 figure for accreditation. Next, after accreditation and voting, remain at the polling unit to watch the process until ballot papers are counted. Closely monitor the ballot counting process and ensure the results are recorded on the original form, and it's the form EC8A for the polling unit. Then you need to ensure the INEC official takes a photo of the authentic results for that polling unit using the BVAS only. Only the BVAS should be.
The state, the unclear role of the governor as the chief security officer of the state in the Nigerian constitution, and the mutual suspicion of the 2 major religions in Plateau State, what do you consider to be the most effective method to bring about lasting peace and justice among the citizenry generally, and especially the victims of land grabbing? And what innovations do you intend to bring to the table? 2 minutes.
Okay, let me start. Like I said, we'll start with building institutions. And the first institution we need to build is that the institution will raise funding for security in the state. I will set up the first bill I will send to the House of Assembly will be the Security Trust Fund for the state. That will raise 1% of the contract at the local government, state, and federal project resting in the state. All agencies and other firms and businesses on the plateau, like banks and other industries, will contribute to the Security Trust Fund. That contract, that trust fund will raise enough funding like what has been demonstrated in Lagos, which is a good model for us also learn from. I'll use that to ensure that we have enough funding for security in the state. That will be an independent source managed as a trust fund, not by government. Secondly, I will get the religious leaders, both the Christian and Muslim religious leaders, get traditional rulers, get PDAN, as non-executive board members of the Peace Building Agency. That will ensure that all the crises we have due to religious crisis and mutual suspicion are addressed at the level of the agency. That will reduce conflict in the local government, because that will be cascaded down to local government. So we'll have the Peace Building Agency in all the 17 local government with CAN and GI and security agency leaders as non-executive directors. That will give them room for issues that has to do with security challenges at that level are actually restored and cornered and tackled before they escalated. Thirdly, I also ensure that I bring in technology. Technology here is because most people are going to kill people in the rural communities use night vision devices. I will ensure that I buy night vision devices. I'll also aggregate our hunters. I'll aggregate our own hunters. I'll aggregate our vigilantes, retired soldiers and retired personnel from the state. I'll recruit them and bring them under Operation Rainbow. I'll arm them with pump action guns. I'll throw them back to rural communities so they will be at the borderline where there are possible they can respond to security challenges in threats in the rural communities. In addition also, and most importantly, I will ensure that apart from them responding to these challenges, for land grabbing, I will ensure that also we got a permanent solution. The first permanent solution is...
Okay, thank you very much. Same question to Dr. Dakum, the Labour Party candidate.
And all the audience. First of all, I think the first thing is to use the huge human resource that we have in the security personnel that are in Plateau State. I'm talking about retired generals, retired AIGs, put up a very, very, strategic committee that will review all that is there in terms of the architecture of security here on the Plateau. For us in the Labour Party, most of our agenda revolves around the community. And therefore, for me, I think the community efforts at peace building, peace enforcement are going to be paramount. By community efforts specifically, I'm talking about one, strengthening the peace agency, strengthening and funding them. But number two is traditional institutions who will play two roles. One is conflict prevention and management, and they are also going to be involved definitely in the aspect of peace building. Let me say a little about the land grabbing. First of all, I think we should be determined as a people to ensure that there isn't any land grabbing anymore, and we'll do that through providing proper leadership. We'll be determined to return all IDPs, and I was privileged that to be in Jong where IDPs were returned. And the clear thing that happened in that place was a combination of members of the state executive, I may say a few of them, also the National Assembly was there, and then the military and police were there, and Jong community came back. The methodology that was used in that, and some of us witnessed it and were part of it, we will use that in order to build up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Same question to the People's Democratic Party candidate, Barrister Mutfwang.
Security advisor to coordinate the security network. With him or her on board, will coordinate and supervise existing structures and personnel, the police, civil service, STF, vigilante, hunters, to see how we can improve the system. I'm coming in with the mindset of a newly appointed coach of a team facing relegation. You don't have time to recruit new players, so you have to make sure that the existing players perform optimally. We would go on to revamp community structures for dispute resolution and conflict management, traditional rulers, community development associations, faith-based organizations, etc. Thereafter, we would reinvigorate the justice system to improve on law enforcement and prosecution of crime, and we proceed to recommission the Operation framework for better effectiveness, and in the long term, we'll be advocating for constitutional reform to allow for state police. Of course, on the issue of land grabbing, it's going to be a mix of carrot and stick diplomacy. We're going to ensure that we press the buttons where we need to press them, because a lot of those issues are not in our hands. One thing we can commit to Plateau, that all that we can is necessary to ensure that our people are returned to their ancestral lands. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pampe.
Thank you very much, Stanley. The first and foremost is leadership. In every system, if leadership is missing, like Chinua Achebe will say, then all things will fall apart. Being somebody who contributed significantly towards the establishment of the peace-building agency, as a former ad hoc consultant to the Plateau State House of Assembly on conflict in 12 local governments, I have a clear understanding of some of the rudiments, causes of these crises that we have here and there. And since the issues are also about land grabbing, ours is a strategic approach. We're bringing leadership on the table. But first and foremost, we're looking at 3 levels of this security. One is to safeguard our borders. The second aspect is to address our insecurity within the hinterland. And the third aspect of it has to do with the metropolis. So understanding these things will enable us to test some of the provisions that are already in existence. For instance, we have the Anti-Land Grabbing Act. On coming into office, we'll review that particular law and give it flesh and see areas where we can prosecute and ensure that we set up a system that can recover this land and take these people back home. Secondly, the issue of the Peace Building Agency. I have also studied the act that was signed in January of 2016 by His Excellency the Governor of Plateau State. Section 2, Section 8, and Section 9 of that particular act does not also give that particular peace building agency the teeth to be able to bite in terms of coordinating dialogue and peace building activities within the state. We are going to review and amend that particular law, but most importantly, we are bringing leadership on the table. And since the question also includes the questions of finance and justice, justice is the meat of stability and peace in every society. There is no finance that can ever be enough for any government. It's about how leadership is able to be transparent, is able to be accountable, is able to be judicious, and is able to enhance that the wastages that are also taken away, the chunk of our budgets are also reduced, so that we'll have enough fund to be able to execute our security
Thank you
strategy.
very much. We will now move on to the next question, and this one is connected to the first to answer this question will be the candidate of the Labour Party. From then on, we'll move to the People's Democratic Party, the People's Redemption Party, and then the All Progressives Congress. And this is the question. Finance is at the center of executing government policies and plans, programs, as well as projects. Now, according to the latest report of the Auditor General for Plateau State for the 2021 fiscal year, out of the 95.1 billion naira recruitment expenditure, the state spent 27.3 billion naira on personnel costs and 20.7 billion on overhead costs, for a total of 48 billion naira. Now, this is more than twice the state's IGR for 2021. As governor, what would be your IGR target, and how do you intend to achieve this? Dr. Dakum, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying that the statistics that we have reeled out leaves one issue out, and that's the issue of the debt burden. Out of the IGR that you have mentioned and out of the Federation account, almost 65% goes out the window, or it's taken away as part of debt servicing. It means that we have very little to start with. I think the first thing is to block loopholes. By blocking loopholes, we are going to be able to raise the revenue base by about 30 to 40% in the first 1 year. Secondly, is to be able to ensure that the ease of doing business, which we are 14 out of 36 in terms of the ease of doing business, is taken care of effectively. The other thing that we are going to be doing is to ensure that the economic drivers in the first 1 year are put in a situation where we will be able to begin to turn the credit score around for Plateau State. By turning the credit score around is ability to be able to borrow. And we will not be afraid of borrowing, but we'll be borrowing and then we'll be showing costs for what we are doing. The economic drivers for Plateau State are not difficult to find. We have agri, tourism, and mining, and probably later we can say a little more about that. But the elephant in the room we have already talked about, which is security. But infrastructure is very, very key, and we are very sure that as long as we are very prudent and we are able to block the loopholes, we are going to be able to do a lot with the little that we have. So I believe that the economy of the state has a lot of redundant industries that we can reactivate. And I will not have the time to go through all of them, but we also intend to ensure that the private sector is properly harnessed by ensuring that the ease of doing business is properly laid out for them. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A very quick announcement. With the candidates, just as you answer your question, look to the camera in the middle of the room so that our audience out there can really connect with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The lights are blinding though, so it's difficult to keep your eyes consistently in that direction. But quickly on the economy, I talked about the issue of internally generated revenue. It's not rocket science. I believe that the first thing we will need to do upon being sworn in is to put the right leadership in place to be able to drive the process of generating revenue for the state. Once we have done that, we'll also be able to solicit and lobby for the right kind of funding that will support businesses on the plateau, both in the formal and informal sectors, because if you do not create wealth, you cannot generate revenue. And so we'll be knocking on the doors of places like banking industry. There are provisions within the CBN framework that our people have not had access to because the government has not played the right kind of advocacy. We'll be taking the bull by the horn. And of course, once we start doing that, we'll be able to capture more businesses within the tax net. And thereafter, we would go on to be able to deploy technology on how to block loopholes and be able to provide accountability and transparency in the process of revenue mobilization. Then we will be looking for how to restructure the debts that we have accumulated over the years so that our lending profile can be raised. We can bring back investor confidence in the state government. I believe we will begin to lay out the roadmap for how to bring economic recovery, and we will be able to service all the services by government. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Before we move on to Mr. Panpe, please feel free to leave your microphones on. There's no need to turn them off so that we can have a very smooth sailing.
Stanley, the reality about Plateau State is that Plateau is among the 10 poorest states in Nigeria. At the moment, Plateau is 74.1%. If you look at recent statistics that place the total number of poor people in Nigeria at 133. And of course, really that is an authoritative statement. And multi-poverty dimensions also means that you can't generate anything from this category of population. So the first thing to do is to empower the generation. The population. And how do we do that? We must be able to look at the sectoral deficiencies and to be able to address them. Number one, we have tourism. Our tourism sector has gone into comatose. In fact, even the lions and the animals on our major recreational centers are begging for food, 1 square meal a day. And in that kind of system, there is no way that that kind of tourism sector can provide any significant level of contribution. And so what you have with the 16.2 billion that the Plateau State Internal Revenue Service has said it has generated as the highest is infinitesimal when you compare that with the kind of revenues that are generated, and this is largely from personal income tax. So we must be able to open the economy, look at how we can revamp our tourism sector, look at how we can bring up some of those fantastic things that we have in our agricultural sector and begin to make them to work. For instance, if you take the sugarcane plantation in Mushere, in Horop, and Ikungwab, and you also take the yam that we have in other places in Kwanpan, and we're able to ensure that the logistics are provided for these farmers to get benefits from it, then definitely they'll also be able to contribute to the economic profile of the state in terms of revenue. To that extent, we are also looking at doing about 30 billion per annum. And we have done our calculations around those areas with the acres of land that we have in the state. So in the first instance, 29th of May will not be rosy because the trajectory shows that even previous administrations have inherited little amount of money to be able to do government business with.
Thank you very much. Dr. Goshwe.
I will learn from Obama. Obama first threw the bailout into the dying economy. I will send a bill to the State House of Assembly to set up the Plateau State Investment Security Trust Fund. I will take 10% of the IGR and set aside for the youths, the women, people with disability to take 80% of that sum to set up their small and medium-scale industry, invest in their farms, invest in commerce, regrade the economy, create a new economy for the state, will build a new economy for Plateau State. That will set the state in motion to ensure that the revenue coming back from them will be the source of the first IGR will generate direct to the state. Secondly, solid minerals is the biggest revenue earner for Plateau State. Plateau State has 3 lists, 2 in Wase, 1 in Barkin-Ladi. I'll sign joint venture agreement for profit sharing with international mining company that will come and invest in Plateau State and ensure that we generate enough revenue from solid minerals to be able to pay the state and meet up with the demand of the state. Even solid mineral alone, we can generate enough funding for the state. Thirdly, I will ensure also that we have electricity, because our biggest asset also is electricity. We have over 100 megawatt of electricity resources across the state. I will harness them. For now, Kuru has 26 megawatt capacity. It's operating at just about 2 megawatt. I ensure that I distillate it back and return it back to 26 megawatt. That will generate electricity enough for Plateau State, for industry, and ensure that we revive the electricity, and that will be the pivot that will generate electricity for the state. Agriculture is the last one that we'll do. Because last 2019, Nigerians spent 21 trillion on food only. Getting that market square, even if it's 1% of that market square that we're getting like over 100 billion naira that will be the market for agriculture only for farmers on the plateau.
Okay, thank you very much for that response. We have to move on to the next question. And this one, still on development, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party will be the first to answer this question. And it goes like this. It's related to agriculture. Farmers in the state are not getting value for their effort. They contend with the use of crude techniques and tools, low-yielding, disease-prone crop varieties, high cost of farm inputs, poor storage facilities, pressure to sell at very low prices, unfriendly government policies, and profiteering from middlemen. Now, previous governments have made lots of efforts, but the fate of the farmer has remained unchanged. If elected into office, provide a step-by-step summary of how you intend to improve the fortunes of the local farmer.
Stanley, agriculture remains the key to our economic revival and to our prosperity. May 2019 to October 2019, basically what we'll do is to see how to improve the inputs the farmers can get. 2020 will take a step, and then we'll also be able to bring in better farming techniques and also to be able to expand the crop base that our farmers can cultivate. We'll be looking at how to bring in improved seedlings by 2020, and of course, by which time we would have also realized how to access inputs. By 2021, we would have developed sufficient capacity to develop the capacity for irrigation so that we'd be able to expand the farming season beyond the rainy season, and thereafter, we will also be able to look at how to introduce other forms of agriculture, animal husbandry, fisheries, that will be able to improve on the productive base of our farmers. By the fourth year, we would have consolidated on these steps that we have taken to ensure that actually by that time, our farmers are in a position to be able to generate sufficient wealth and to generate food security for the people of Plateau State. I will be looking at the possibilities of using the inland port in Haipang to begin to look at the possibilities of exporting agricultural products. With these steps, we would have revived the ASPC, we would have also revived the PADP and other agricultural programs.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Panton.
Three things, Mr. Stanley. The first and foremost is security. You don't expect any farmer to produce anything relevant with the insecurity that we have. There are quite a number of people who are victims to animal rustling. There are also quite a number of farmers who have, for the past 24 months, been unable to step their foot on their farms because of insecurity. So one leg of it is to be able to provide security for our farmers. And we have a strategy called Plateau 54. And if the conservative figure of ethnic groups in Plateau is 54, then we intend to use from each of these a human intelligence security process that will enable us to safeguard these communities. Details of that, of course, will come later. But of course, first and foremost is to provide security for our farmers. Number two is to ensure that we take advantage of the comparative advantage in terms of the things that we produce on Plateau. Plateau have quite a number of array of vegetables. But these vegetables are usually lost at post-harvest. So what we'll do is to establish what I call 3 centers for storage. One in the central zone, one in the northern zone, one in the southern zone. The one in the southern zone will provide a central warehousing for those who are into yam production, for example, so that they can store them and ensure that at the right price, they are able to phase out middlemen and sell it to be able to recoup their funds. Then at the central zone, we have comparative advantage in terms of Irish potatoes. Then at the northern zone, we have comparative advantage in terms of vegetables. So if we provide these 3 prone storage facilities for our farmers, they will be able to get benefit. Then the other aspect of it is to ensure that we provide infrastructures, like roads that can link these farms to the cities. And that will also go hand in hand or pari passu with markets. Because if you don't have the markets, that they will be able to dispose these things and get value for it. Then at the end of the day, they are also going to, to lose at the detriment of the middle class farmers. Then finally, we're also looking at ensuring that these farmers work hand in hand to get the inputs, revamp our institutions, and ensure that they work at the end.
Thank you very much, Dr. Goshwe.
Yes, our first comparative advantage is in assorted fruits, in vegetables and potato. That's where Plateau State has the biggest comparative advantage. Secondly, in animal production, our highlands, our water resources on the plateau give us the advantage of raising the best animals on the plateau. What will I do? First, I will ensure that I work on the upstream, the downstream first, so that I can increase production. Bringing high-yielding fruit, high-yielding seed will be the first responsibility of government to ensure that we raise the yield of products on the plateau. Already, fruit and veggie are working in Barking Ladi on potato. They've raised the yield from 2 tons to 6 tons. Getting that for fruits, getting that for other sectors, we ensure that we change the transient of farming on the plateau. Secondly, we have the biggest fish farm in Nigeria. As of 3 years ago, the Panya fish farm is the largest fish farm in Nigeria. As an advantage is a pH of that soil that can produce one of the best cod liver oil. And the cod liver oil is even the money in it, not actually in the protein. I will ensure that I get it back on stream, get international partners, and work with them to ensure that we raise funding from there. In the downstream, the upstream, I will ensure also that I work on the market space for our farmers. Lagos State stands as one of the states that consume the highest amount of food in Nigeria, and yet they don't farm. I will ensure that I open the market for them. First, by ensuring that I increase the runway of the airport by 5 meters to allow cargo to land. That will enable me to evacuate food from Plateau State every day to Lagos and make enough money to create a market space and get enough funding for people from that space. Thirdly, I will ensure also that I work on the Inland Community Airport for export of farm produce from Plateau State. That will enable Plateau State.
Much appreciated. Dr. Daku.
Thank you very much. I think one of the first things to do is to look at the policies, review them, harmonize these policies, and ensure that the policies for the different agencies are all geared towards ensuring that we meet the target of what we want. When you have the ASTC, you have the PADP, and you have several agencies doing almost the same thing, that needs to be harmonized for better efficiency. The next thing to be done is to ensure that the real farmer is properly identified. There's a difference between a real farmer and a political farmer. A lot of times when we have inputs, especially from government, the inputs end up in the hands of people that are not real farmers. Currently, already I'm in conversation with the different associations that are involved in one agriculture or the other, including Tomato Association, Rice Association, etc. And these people know who the real farmers are. The purpose of organizing them is to be able to enable them have that access that every farmer requires. 1, tractor. 2, fertilizer. How do they get it to the real person? Government can say that we have done X number of tractors, but in the end, the real farmer doesn't get it. Through these cooperatives, we'll ensure that they get it. And we will be able to access the funds from several places, including the Central Bank, including the African Development Bank. And by the way, the government collected $5 million, I understand, for potato farming. So far, we are told that what has been done is settling. The other, of course, on the long term is research and development. Then our industrial development will be agro-based, in the sense that we are going to ensure that you don't farm potato and you are not able to sell potato. It means that markets will be opened, and the markets we are talking about are both local and international. We have demand market in Jos, we have main market, we build a main market, in Mangu we build a main market, in the different parts of the local government, so people can sell their goods local and international. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dakum. Our last question for this first segment of the debate. This question will be first answered by the candidate of the People's Redemption Party, and then the other candidates subsequently. It's coming from the health sector. Plateau State Contributory Healthcare Management Agency was established in 2019 by Governor Simon Lalong, his administration, to provide health insurance to the uninsured. Now, it aims to achieve this through 4 health plans: equity health plan, formal health plan, informal health plan, and private health plan. Plateau State has an estimated population of 4 million, and over 90% of health expenditure is currently out of pocket. What fresh ideas can you propose to improve health insurance coverage for people in all sectors? And what funding options do you envision for the Equity Health Plan, which caters to the vulnerable and less privileged population?
I take it from the point of the vulnerable. Now, if you also go further, Stanley, you will also know that recent statistics in 2020 has placed the nutrition value on the plateau at 66%, which means that children between the ages of 0 to 5 and to 6 fall within this category, and they don't have nutrition. So you find stunting in most of these communities. But that aside, also take the health sector in its holistic form. You will also see that less attention has been paid in terms of funding the health sector, in terms of rejigging even the institutions within the health sector. In Plateau State, as it were, the recent law, which also provides for the establishment of Plaschema, which you have rightly alluded to, again, does not make it mandatory for those in the informal sector to be captured. And I also know for a fact that recently that particular agency, what it's doing is to be able to open up to ensure that it does publicity so that people are able to be captured. So ours is a holistic approach. It is not just about insurance, health insurance. We're going to take the entire health sector into consideration. We'll look at issues with regards to the institutions that provide medical services. We look at the factors that cause even the kind of epidemic that we see in the health sector with regards to our environment. Look around the environment and you know that Plateau State, in comparison to other states, has become more or less a den where people dumped a lot of wastages. And these are contributory factors to our health. So what we'll do is to be able to ensure that we look at this aspect, take it holistically, put enough funding into these areas, have our health practitioners properly taken care of so that we can reduce the issues of brain drain. As I'm talking to you, the doctors on the plateau are not enough. The nurses on the plateau are not enough because the reward system is very poor. So until and unless you take the issues holistically, you will not be able to isolate just the issue of health insurance as a way of addressing the collective problems that are associated with the health sector.
Dr. Goshua.
For me, the first thing we need to do is to get the unorganized sector. For now, they are the people that are paramount, not part of the health scheme. I'll get them organized by first getting the database of Plateau State indigents, liaising with the national identity, and get the data of Plateau indigents, use the informal sector that we have, which are organized, organize them to be part and parcel of the database, I ensure that using the database, I will lower the scheme, the cost of them assessing the social health scheme. That will bring people who are now out of the scheme to be part of the scheme. And that will integrate and expand the access of health to people on the plateau. 2, I work on the primary health care along with the local government chairman, because primary health care is in the local government. I work with the local government chairman to ensure that we improve the quality of services, manpower. I'll support and supplement services that are made at primary health care to reinforce the health facilities at the primary health care, so that basic check, tests, and everything can be done at primary health care to decongest secondary and tertiary institutions of our health system. That will give them access, because nearer to them, manpower provision, equipment provision will ensure that we provide better services at that level. I'll also work on the secondary health care, but ensuring that we have one secondary health care center at each senatorial zone. They'll provide them with manpower, facility, and everything that you require to ensure that we get effective services and decongest the secondary health care into those zones. Then the fourth thing I would do is also increase funding. And funding here, apart from funding from government, I work with international partners. Being somebody who has with so many international partners, I'll attract international funding to ensure that we supplement those funding and increase funding for health through funding for international partners. Lastly, I work with the manpower, because without the manpower, you can't be talking about healthcare. Retraining and training of manpower.
Dr. Dakum. Thank you very much. I think first of all, already WHO has already done a survey on the healthcare system in Plateau State, and we already know the deficiencies that there are. They revolve around human resources and infrastructure, both at the primary, secondary, and tertiary health establishment. Human resources in the sense of the critical sectors of community health extension workers for primary health care. You have doctors, nurses, and lab scientists at all levels. You have in the tertiary facility also specialists. The community health insurance scheme, it's difficult to force it on the private sector. But I think through a careful advocacy to the different sectors, we'll make a headway. Let me also indicate the fact that healthcare responsibility in Plateau State, I think faith-based organizations provide a lot, about almost 50 to 60% of the healthcare in Plateau State. And I believe that working in a public-private sense will enable us to reach to the people more. Specifically on the health insurance, we'll make sure that we provide a subsidy for all those that are vulnerable. I mean the orphans and children. Antenatal care will, of course, through the insurance, they don't have to pay anything. People living with disabilities and the elderly. The other is to turn Plateau State into a medical tourism center. And what I mean by that is identifying the secondary health facilities that we have, our Plateau State Specialist Hospital that will turn into a teaching hospital, and ensuring that through this we fix the issues that people go to Dubai and India for. That way, our health sector will create wealth for Plateau State and not just be an area of expenditure. I believe that Plateau State is the best place for you to create a medical tourism if you want to.
Thank you very much. Barrister Mutfo.
Thank you, Stanley. I think for me, critical to the revival of the health sector is leadership. We need to bring back the right kind of leadership in that sector. And what a joy and honor it will be for me if I become governor and I have somebody of the caliber of my elder brother, Dr. Dakum, to drive that sector. It will be a privilege. On the issue of health finance, I believe there's a need for advocacy on the existing structures we have put in place. And beyond them, to be able to see how we can develop some cooperative health financing scheme. Like I know the Nigerian Bar also have developing something along that line in terms of insurance, life insurance, And also, we can also do more with faith-based organizations to leverage on their access to the vulnerable group and see how we can also be able to develop some cooperative financing around the faith-based organizations. But very critical, like I said, is leadership, so that we can start from the primary health care to the secondary to the tertiary, will eliminate corruption, and that we will be able to attract development partners that are always willing to come and assist vulnerable states and countries in the pursuit of better health care. I think when we do this, we will be able to bring some sanity back to our healthcare system.
Thank you very much to all of our 4 candidates. We have come to the end of the first session of our debates. We'll take a short break. During the short breaks, our candidates can feel free. You can go backstage. We have some light refreshments. Don't take too much. We don't want you to get too relaxed. But a very quick break, or if you like, you can just have a seat and refresh yourself in preparation for the next session. Just a quick reminder, the next session we will have candidate-specific questions. These are questions that have been drawn by the manifestos that you have each presented. And each candidate will have 12 minutes within which to answer some of these questions. After that, we'll have our final hour. In our final hour, just a quick reminder to the audience, please submit your questions to the officials who are close to you. No questions shall be allowed which are specifically targeted at individual candidates. All questions must be asked to and answered by all of our 4 candidates who are here present today. So we'll take a break. We will be right back. Don't go away.
Elections. So how can you do this? How can you prevent election rigging at your polling unit on election day? We share a few tips with you. So 1, show up early at your polling unit on election day. If you show up early, it's one way to stop election rigging because it gives you an opportunity to observe every activity at your polling unit. Now, this will enable you cross-check the following sensitive materials. You've got to shine your eyes and ensure that these materials are available at your polling unit. 1 is the ballot papers, 2, result sheets, 3, the BVAS device. Now, before accreditation and voting begins, ensure you verify that the BVAS has 0 figure for accreditation. Next, after accreditation and voting, remain at the polling unit to watch the process until ballot papers are counted. Closely monitor the ballot counting process and ensure the results are recorded on the original form, and it's the form EC8A for the polling unit. Then you need to ensure the INEC official takes a photo of the authentic results for that polling unit using the BVAS only. Only the BVAS should be used to take image of the result sheet. Now, once the photo of the result sheet is taken, closely watch to ensure the INEC official uploads the results on the INEC election results viewing portal using the BVAS. Now, where there is no network to transmit the results at the polling unit, we encourage you to accompany the INEC official with the BVAS to any location with network and verify the result is transmitted electronically. Lastly, you request that the INEC official post the polling unit's result at the polling unit using the form EC60E. Every polling official is required to post the results of that polling unit at the polling unit. If possible, after all this, you can accompany the INEC officials and the electoral materials to the Ward Collation Center to monitor the ward level collation of results within your particular ward. And please Feel free to take pictures and videos of activities at the polling units because the law provides that you can, whether party agents take video recordings of political activities. And we encourage you can share these videos and pictures on social media and tag INEC Nigeria, tag YIAGA on Twitter or on Facebook or Instagram, or use the hashtag Nigeria Decides 2023 or the hashtag Watching the Vote. Welcome to Elections 101 in 5. From now to the top of the hour, you will be getting useful information and key tips to help you understand Nigeria's voting system and the Electoral Act 2022. This program focuses on the how and not who to vote, and it's brought to you by YIAGA Africa and supported by the UNDP. My name is Samson Itodo. Let's get started. What is INEC Election Results Viewing Portal and how it is used? Here are some answers from the street.
To my own understanding, it's a place where people go to check their results when the election has been conducted.
Me, I don't normally know anything about it much, but I have heard about it before.
It gives Nigerians access to view results from their comfort zone.
Well, lovely responses from the street. The INEC Election Results Viewing Portal is an online web portal where polling units level results are uploaded to allow citizens view copies of election results as compiled and recorded at the polling unit upon the conclusion of voting at an election. The portal promotes transparency and credibility of the electoral process, and it's used for electronic transmission of results. So this is how it works. After voting and counting of ballots and results have been entered in the form EC8A, the polling unit official will take a photo of the result sheet, and that's the form EC8A, using the BVAS device. Then the photo of that result sheet will be uploaded immediately to the online portal for the public, for you and I to view and follow the results. Once it is uploaded on the online portal, citizens can view the results. To access polling unit level results transmitted electronically or published online, here are the procedures. Step 1. Visit www.inecelectionresults.ng and log in or create an account. And that's the official website. To create an account, a person must have an email address. Third, once an account has been created, choose the election and download the election results for the polling unit. It's that simple. And as the election progresses, the portal is updated with new information and results across polling units. As you can see, the processes and procedures are just simple, and that's the way you can access results online. You can also follow the results on election day using the election results analysis dashboard on www.erad.ng, provided by YIAGA.
Debate as organized by the Plateau Debate Guild. This is the second hour, and I would just like to generally remind us of the rules. In the next 60 minutes, we will be asking questions directly from the manifesto, which was presented by each of our candidates. And we will spend a total of 12 minutes on each candidate. While we are addressing one candidate, the other three candidates may remain seated. There are chairs which have been provided behind, so you can relax a little bit. until it is your time on the hot seat. Each question would be 2 minutes allowed for the candidate to respond. So, in this session, we will begin with the candidate of the People's Redemption Party, Mr. Luka Panpe. The candidates of the People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party, and the All Progressives Congress may wish to take a seat while we begin. Now, Mr. Panpe, you are reminded that you have 4 questions to answer, 2 minutes for each question. And the first one is this. In your manifesto called the Reclaim Agenda, you want to reposition the Plateau Peace Building Agency by amending the act, setting it up as it relates to the appointment, qualification, and of the Director General and the functions and funding of the agency. Can you provide some of the detail on why this amendment is necessary and how you intend to strengthen the law? And just a quick reminder to you and the other candidates, as you respond, we have an international audience, a statewide audience and an international audience. So as much as possible, please address the camera in the middle of the room. You have 2 minutes for this question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stanley. And like I started, when I was talking about security, I mentioned the Peace Building Agency. And I thank God that now it's just going to be a reiteration or an explanatory note on the things that I've said. If you look at Section 2 of that particular act, it provides for appointment of the DG. And the qualification for the appointment of the DG is somebody with a foundation in conflict management. And to my mind, I feel that that is not enough. We need to deepen that. That means that you exclude professionals in the security sector. And I think that if we, in addition, an addendum to that particular provision, we're able to add specialists or persons with proven record of security as in addition to that conflict management, I think it will go a long way in making it very vibrant. Then again, Section 8 talk about the functions. If you look at the functions, it has to do with dialogue, it has to do with engagement with communities, but we want to also deepen that particular aspect so that beyond the dialogue, beyond that, they can also go to the extent of collaborating with the security agency in terms of intelligence. And that is very fundamental. Because if you leave them on road, only on aspects of dialogue and all those things, then of course they do not have the power to be able to engage deeply as far as some of the constraints that I have also observed from research and study of that particular agency. The third aspect of it, which I talk about, has to do with funding. That particular agency is handicapped now because the law does not also give it opportunity in terms of opening the net horizontally and vertically for them to be able to raise funds to carry out their activities. So to that extent, for us to be able to give the lion the teeth, to be able to not just roar, but to also bite in terms of its engagement, we need also to be able to look at the framework of the law that established that particular agency. And that is why that particular aspect has become very fundamental.
All right, the second question to you. A unique aspect of your manifesto is that it brings to the fore the issues of childhood malnutrition and maternal care. Now, even though the Reclaim Agenda explained the effects of childhood malnutrition, it did not explain how you intend to deal with it. So what is the operational detail, or what are the operational details of your proposed intervention?
Mr. Stanley, if you had gone to the second paragraph of the strategies of manifesto that is with you there, you might have seen some of the strategies mentioned there. So it's not in vague. But I have mentioned it initially, that if you also look at what I wrote in line 3 or 4, you will see that I have said 66% of course are malnourished. And if you look at the senior official, where I mentioned there again in 2020, made this statement and I quote, he said that the nutritional catastrophe on the plateau, and I'm quoting him verbatim at a presentation, the nutritional catastrophe in some days to come, not years, in some days to come, may likely put the children on the plateau second to those who are malnourished in the northeastern part of Nigeria, that are also faced with problems that are associated with activities of the Jama'atul Ahlus-Sunnah Lidawatu wal Jihad, also called Boko Haram. So if you look at it clearly, what I have said there in terms of strategy is to be able to upscale in terms of support, in terms of subsidy for that particular vulnerable category. And if you go up, you also see that I've listed the vulnerable categories in my manifesto, that government can give an intervention in that particular area. We are not going the way of school feeding program, but we ensure that when we empower the parents, and families to have income, then I can assure you that nutrition will not also be a problem for them to put food on the table of their children. And that is fundamental. So clearly speaking, it goes back again to poverty that I mentioned. When I say Plateau is 74.1%, looking at the multi-dimensional poverty index and statistics that was presented recently, which you, Stanley, have been anchoring on nuts and bolts on what is called Freeways TV. And you have mentioned, and I caught part of the statistics on that particular place, that the issues with regards to questions associated with nutrition, issues with multi-dimensional poverty, are questions of unemployment, are questions of poverty, are not just issues that have to do with extreme poverty, but they are more deeper than that. So
well, we are out of time on that question. We have to move on to the next one. In the Reclaim agenda, you claim that there are 5,000 unregistered schools in the state.
Yes.
You intend to declare a state of emergency.
That's right.
In the education sector by auditing schools.
Yes.
And closing them down. Now, how then would you deal with the effect of throwing hundreds of thousands of pupils out of school? In your opinion, how can you solve the problem of unregistered schools in the long term?
Yes.
So it's a two-part question.
Exactly. And that statistics that I gave of 5,000 is from the Commissioner of Education on the Plateau. And of course, that is authoritative. Now, if you look at it, I am one who kept saying that the massive corruption in our educational sector is one of the contributory factors that have driven Plateau at the bottom of even the examination results over the years. And clearly speaking, that particular 5,000 that I mentioned, I was a teacher in the secondary school too, from 1997 to 2001. And I know the deplorable conditions of our secondary school on the Plateau. There is a school across the road in Tudunwada, here in Jos, that people are sitting on the ground. Take a walk into some villages and you will see the situation. I was also a NECO supervisor. I supervised 27 schools in 2020. And I can tell you for free that I understand the depth of the corruption, the depth of the deficit in terms of facilities of these institutions. So it is not just about closing them down. Would you rather prefer a rotten mango to ensuring that you have a seedling that provides adequate provision in terms of production? So do we now look at the issue and say, because we are afraid of throwing people out of these schools, then we should not do the right thing? Then I think our depth of thinking is weakened at that level. So what we will do is that we ensure that they are properly registered. We ensure that they are properly remunerated in terms of teachers. If you see the teachers in most of these schools, most of them are secondary school leavers. And they charge high cost of tuition or school fees on parents. And at the end of the day, they don't get any depth in terms of quality education. These are the kind of corruption from primary schools, basic education, to secondary school, to tertiary institutions. Our tertiary institutions are not better than glorified primary schools. From Plateau State Polytechnic to College of Health Technology Zawan, to College of Health Technology Panshin that was established in 1978. I can tell you that as a comrade, former General Secretary of the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, we fought for the rescheduling of these institutions. And to that extent, we will give teeth in terms of making our educational system vibrant.
Question that we have here.
Yes.
The Reclaim agenda says that you want to develop a subscription-based streaming service.
That's right.
Called Jos Flix.
That's right.
Which is something like Netflix. To promote Jos as an entertainment hub in Nigeria. Please provide some details on the profitability of this venture. Who will own it? Who will operate it? Is it going to be the government or is it going to be the private sector?
It is partnership, public-private partnership. Already Plateau State have what we call the Plateau Information, Communication and Technology Development Agency, also known as PICDA. Now, if you go to Twitter, for instance, and you take a record of young people on the plateau that are on the Twitter space, you will be marveled at what is going on there. If you take other major social networks and you look at the youths that are on those platforms, I can tell you that if we give the youths that as a form of empowerment, we will achieve a lot. And I mentioned in my manifesto, I say if you have what is known as Netflix, why can't you have Joxflix? A friend of mine in Kano already have a typology of that with the Hausa movies. Now, how do we showcase the plateau potentials? How do we showcase what we have on the plateau? Starting from the entertainment industry, moving to the aspects that have to do with tourism, moving to the aspects that have to do with agriculture. It's through this platform. We have rich culture. But how do we sell it to the world? When we develop that streaming platform, what I'm saying is that in the first aspect, we are going to train young people. And in my manifesto, I talk about first 100. We will train them in conjunction with PIGDA. And once that is done, we have them on YouTube, which of course will open YouTube channels for them. And then we also subscribe YouTube channels for them. I beg your pardon. Then we have them empowered and they use those particular platforms. So two things are going to happen. One is that while there is a form of payment that is coming to government in terms of that PPP arrangement, the person that is operating it and doing this venture will also be having monies in his pocket. And our projection is that in the next 100 days of applicability of that particular one, we should be able to have 100 people, youths on the plateau that will boast of not less than $1 million in their account. And that is a projection. So ours goes beyond the empowerment, where you call people, you train them, you give them a clipper, then 12 meters away from there, they sell it and continue in their poverty. So we want something that will empower them and give them a life that a certain royalty is paid back to government and through that particular institutions, and then we have that as a form of income for Plateau State.
Thank you very much,
Mr.
Pampe,
Yes.
the candidate of the People's Redemption Party. It's been an interesting session speaking with you. We'll now move on to the candidate of the People's Democratic Party. We would like to spend the next 12 minutes, or at least 12 minutes of your talking time, digging into the manifesto of the People's Democratic Party for Plateau State. Barrister Caleb Mutfwan, in your manifesto called "The Time Is Now," you said, and I quote, "Our target is to position Plateau State amongst the tourist destination in Nigeria. We will exploit the tourism endowments of the state for development," end quote. And you listed some of the tourist sites that you intend to work on. For instance, Asap Falls, Kura Falls, Hawankibo, Mountain Range. And we know that these places have been overtaken by bandits and kidnappers, etc. How do you intend to convert these places into profitable, income-generating tourist sites?
Thank you, Stanley. Like I've said, course of this engagement, that you have to start from what you have to where you want to go. So tourism is one of the economic drivers of the economy. But like you rightly observed, we have to fix the security situation in order to make tourism attractive. And therefore, tourism is not an isolated issue. As we deal with the security situation in different parts of the state, it amazes me each time I see during festivities people trooping in and out of the wildlife park. It means that people are desirous of where to go for recreation. And we want to secure the entire land, but it's not going to happen in one fell swoop. It's going to be bit by bit. And as we secure each portion, we'll be able to make sure now we can get maximum benefit out of that portion. Of course, the way to go is through the public-private partnership. I have worked as a local government chairman, and I know the attitude in government, and that a lot of the times the economy is best driven by the private sector. So we're going to engage them and create the necessary legal framework for the sector to work, bring profit to the state, and of course ensure that lasting institutions are created for the benefit of our.
All right, moving on to the next question. The Constitution of Nigeria places mineral resources on the exclusive legislative list, meaning that the federal government owns the minerals in the ground, not the state government. But your manifesto says that you would help Plateau State to gain statutorily from its minerals. So what exactly does this mean? With the constitutional roadblocks in place, how would you still make mining a source of revenue for the state?
Number one, we want to ensure that all the mining activities being carried out on the plateau are done in accordance with law. While the federal government has the mineral rights, the state government has rights about how businesses operate in the state. So we're going to ensure that businesses are carried on in accordance with the relevant laws of the state. Concerning issues of environmental impact, issues of environmental sanitation, we're going to deal with those. Labor laws, we're going to make sure that they are fully operated in that sector. Going from there, we're going to also ensure that we get our slice of the mineral licenses from the federal government as a state, so that we can be able to operate that in conjunction with the business people in that sector. There's nothing stopping us from going for a mineral license, particularly if we set up the right structures. And once we do that, we are going to ensure that revenue comes into the state. We're looking at the tax issues around business generally. Like I said, business premises is a subject of taxation for states. It's not for the federal government. And therefore, we'll make sure that the host communities also are not shortchanged. We'll set up an advisory mechanism to ensure that our people who are working in the mines, we had a bad story this afternoon in Barkiladi, that a mining pit collapsed on some of our people in Barkiladi. We will ensure that those kind of things are minimized as to the BRS minimum. And so we believe that we can leverage a lot on the mining sector to drive the plateau economy.
All right, my third question to you. You said that you would be cutting down the cost of government.
Yes.
What specific things would you be cutting down on?
First is to promote efficiency. When we talk about cutting down, it works in different ways. One is to make sure that government agencies function optimally. Once there is efficiency in the system, it is easy to deal with all the baggages that increase cost. We're going to ensure personnel training so that people are able to perform their functions effectively. It is a shame that you go to lands and survey till today, they are still using typewriter. The world has gone beyond that. And with time management is important to cost. We're going to ensure that services are done as and when due. And one of our dreams and desires is to create the enabling environment for businesses to thrive on the plateau, so that we can attract investment from outside to plateau. If you check the statistics that my brother Pompey was quoting, the multidimensional poverty index, you discover that plateau is one of the states that did not attract any foreign investment. We need to recreate the enabling environment. Plateau, Joseph Gomwok Secretariat today is dead. We need to get it back on its knees. And so reform, training, technology, these are the ways that you'll be able to cut down. It has nothing to do with reduction of workforce. It has everything to do with the promotion of efficiency.
Okay, thank you very much. The final question in this session goes like this. You intend to resuscitate the Nigerian Standard newspaper. Now, we know that the traditional newspapers are basically taking a back seat these days. They're being replaced by social media. So, in the light of this, Do you consider the resuscitation of this newspaper house a worthwhile investment? And in concrete terms, what would you be doing to not only resuscitate the newspaper, but also to make it sustainably profitable?
Thank you. I think print media is generally taking the back seat, like you said, but the institutions behind print media are not dying. Time magazine in US is not dying. Washington Post is not dying. Back home, leadership, these day newspapers, they are not dying. They are only diversifying to come into terms with technology and what is happening in the modern society. I think for the younger generation, you would not appreciate the impact of Nigerian Standard in terms of the politics of information dissemination in Nigeria. For those of us older, we look back with nostalgia. At a point in time, it was the voice of the Middle Belt. It was the voice. We need to have a platform that tells who we are, that tells our story the way we want it told. How we are going to do it is a matter of details that we cannot spend time here now. But I can tell you that we will ensure that we key into the relevant technology of the day. And we will be able to leapfrog Nigerian Standard from where it is now to where global best practices are, and ensure that our people have a mouthpiece where they can be able to project their story, project their image.
Okay, just as a follow-up to that, since that is the last question, does that mean that you will be focusing more on the online content? Because we know that the sales of the hard copies are really very negligible. The best newspapers barely do a sale of 10,000 copies.
It will be a composite structure, but let me say, Stanley, leave that to the experts. We will bring in business people to make sure that it is driven profitably. What I can tell you, there has to be a community dimension to it. There has to also be the dimension that caters for the elite. Even the online media content, I can tell you, not many people born before computer. Those born from the early 60s and below are so used to that. So we will be looking at the demographics, where the market is now, and make sure we situate it appropriately. If you look at my manifesto that you're quoting from, I said that we are going to release the details in due course.
All right. Thank you very much, Barrister Mutfwang. We now move on to the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Dr. Nantawe Yilwada Goshwe. My first question, and a quick reminder that we have four questions for you. You have roughly 2 minutes to respond to each question that we ask. Starting with this one. Your manifesto, the Access Agenda, has some exciting projections about potato farming and how we can optimize it. There are, however, some important aspects to consider. First is the issue of the potato blight. Last year alone, the Commissioner of Agriculture announced that farmers in the state lost 18 billion naira to the blight. How does this blight situation affect your potato revolution plans? And secondly, the manifesto is a bit silent about the storage of potatoes. Now, in an interesting peer-reviewed article in a journal called The Open Agriculture, the authors claimed that about 30% of potatoes were lost in storage, even when it was stored for just 2 months. So how would you go around this blight problem? And what is the plan on storage of such large harvests that you project, which is right about 1,200 metric tons? How are you going to store all of that?
Let me just start by saying that my manifesto is very clear about the downstream sector, which is improving production. Right now, Fruits and Veggie Nigeria Ltd, in conjunction with the International Potato Seed Center, are working on 8 seeds, and 4 of them are resistant to disease. They have also improved yield. Now, farmers, current farmers, when they farm, they get about 2 tons per hectare. But with this improved seed, they can make between 35 and 36 tons per hectare, moving from 2 tons to 36 tons. This is a quantum leap for production and downstream sector of the potato value chain. They are testing it in Barikilad in Orowa to be specific, and that will be the first quantum leap that we'll do in terms of production. In terms of storage, Plateau State government, during Governor Jang, applied for a loan with the African Development Bank. That loan was approved during Governor Lalong. Now they're building both the upstream and downstream sector of the potato in terms of storage. Right now, part of the money has been released, but it's a grant, so there's need for matching grant. When coming in, I'll provide the matching grant to ensure that we build up those storage systems. That would be the lowest hanging for me to ensure to do that. But expanding the runway of the airport, allow cargo to land, will ensure that we moved fruits and vegetables, including the potato, down from Jos to Lagos in hours. That will also evacuate as much as we can, because it is estimated that over 50% of potato consumed around Lagos and the down south are imported from Belgium and Holland.
Could you quickly respond to the blight issue?
Last, concerning the blight, already the crops, the new crop coming in are disease resistant. And then secondly, like I said, and it's for the government also to go into extension services to ensure farmers are helped to reduce blight at the lower level.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next question. On the cost of governance. Now, this aspect is rather silent in your manifesto. So in your opinion, what do you think constitutes financial waste in governance? Do you intend to run a lean and effective system? And if so, how do you intend to achieve this?
First is to reduce the cost of governance by reducing the number of political appointees. Reduce the number of political appointees will marginally reduce the cost of governance. 2 is provide loan scheme for appointees of government. Instead of government buying vehicles for them, they acquire loan scheme for them to pay and get their vehicles. Billions of naira is spent every year to ensure that we just buy vehicles for appointees of government. That will reduce the cost of governance marginally also. 2 is to bring efficiency. Removing land from Ministry of Land and Survey, which just that's restructuring some ministries, like removing land from Ministry of Survey and say that as a bureau will improve efficiency. Most states that have bureau make marginal income from Ministry of Land and Survey than having a Ministry of Land and Survey. Increasing that will just ensure that we make sure that land and survey turn out billions of naira, unlike what we're having right now in the ministry. Automating the system of governance will also reduce the cost of governance. This will bring about improving revenue within the state, improving efficiency within the state, and reduce the cost of governance. And then even in the amending the act that set up the present revenue board of the state, so that we can have partnership with the private sector, because the current law doesn't allow private sector participation in collection of revenue. Amending that law and ensuring that we have private partnership in revenue collection would improve the revenue base of the state. Kaduna State has done the same, Lagos has done the same, Amina State has done the same. All states that have private sector participation in revenue collection has more than doubled their revenue basis. That I would do to ensure that, apart from waste reduction, we improve efficiency, we increase revenue, so that we can deploy monies. And then most importantly, monitoring and evaluation. Because where you don't monitor and evaluate, that's where you have waste. I'll ensure that I'll lead from the front in terms of operation.
All right. We have to move on to the third question. The Access Agenda proposes to create 40,000 direct and indirect jobs over a period of 4 years through the resuscitation of JIB, Bark Farms, Hill Station, and also the Plateau Hotel through a public-private partnership arrangement. Can you break down how you arrived at these numbers? And remember that you might need a year or two to identify credible investors. So is this projection of 40,000 jobs in 4 years realistic?
Let me just put it this way. The reason why this hotel, people will find difficult to have core investors for them is that there's nothing that actually attract people to Plateau State for this hotel to become functional. The first thing is to revamp the tourism. Plateau State has 3 key areas in tourism. Mountain tourism and cultural tourism are the 2 most important tourism that we have in the state. In mountain tourism, Plateau has the advantage of being on the highland. In the highland, it simply means that we have less oxygen. Having less oxygen simply means that our lungs will expand more. It simply means that that's where most long-range runners, they train on highlands, so that when they get to lowlands, they can run like horses. Having training centers for Plateau State here, so that you can attract long-range, long-distance runners come and train on the plateau, so that all West African countries, neighboring countries, will leverage our training center, just like what Kenya is doing. We will have long-range, long-distance runners coming to Plateau State and will attract them as tourism centers. That will ensure that these hotels get co-investors. The co-investors will create jobs. The job will not just be in the hotel alone, but several sectors that will drive this sector in its earnest. The same thing with cultural tourism that we have. Plus, have the advantage of being a rainbow state with several cultures distributed across the state. Over 56 tribes on the plateau with different culture, diverse culture, harnessing the diversity. Having a festival for them will be one of the biggest cultural festivals across the world, and that will be a center of attraction for people, and this hotel will come back in no distant time. That's the reason why I said that reviving industries along with these sectors will ensure that we have over 40,000 jobs created in 4 years.
In 4 years, start to finish possible.
Yes.
Okay, the final question for you. Previous governments have promised to improve power supply through NESCO. The Access Agenda has done the same. In the last few years, NESCO itself has been going through serious grid failures, power cuts. Sometimes these power cuts run into weeks. Why do you think previous governments failed to consummate the partnership with NESCO? And what would you do differently?
I've been to NESCO, and being electrical engineer myself, that's my core area, so I can speak better on this. NESCO has 26 megawatt capacity. It's operating at roughly about 2 megawatt capacity. Reason because of silting. Sand has taken over the waterways, and so it cannot generate enough electricity. Dredging is the first thing we need to do for NESCO. So all the other options that we address, so far, were wrong option. Getting to drench it will enable NESCO to return back to capacity. That I will do and do immediately. Secondly, we have other 3 key areas that 3 key sites that can generate electricity or neighborhood of over 60 megawatt. One is in Sha, in Bokos local government, which have been there in person. And then third one is in Kwal. Second one is in Kwal. And having one in also in Paishin South. Those 3 alone can generate over 60 megawatt of power. And all these 3 have been surveyed, and all these 3 have investors waiting. Now, with the new law signed by the federal government, by the president, to allow state government to participate in the downstream, midstream, and upstream sector of the value chain of electricity, will allow me to set up first Plateau State Electricity Regulatory Agency. They will sign joint venture agreement with international partners to invest in that sector. That will enable us to generate more electricity. That will also transmit. That will give option for Plateau State in terms of sale of electricity. Plateau State will be a core of where we can even sell electricity to other states using joint venture agreement and profit sharing. I will get benefit from it. I'll make the sale richer. I'll increase efficiency in electricity generation, distribution, and I'll also ensure that this is done using capacity from within for them to benefit and learn from it. That will make Plateau a hope for most industries. Believe you me, if that is done, most industries across the north and south will transfer their hope back to Plateau State. That will create jobs. That will create so much economy in the state, and that's where Plateau State will stand in.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Goshwe. It's been a pleasure speaking with you on that. We will now move on to the candidate of the Labour Party, Dr. Patrick Dakum. Dr. Dakum, a reminder that we have 4 questions for you. Each question should be answered within the space of 2 minutes. Starting with the first one, the main thrust of the Labour candidate's manifesto is based on 3 pillars of agriculture, mining, and tourism. how can the pillars be optimally leveraged, bearing in mind the real and perceived security situation in the state?
Thank you very much. I think in the previous talk we had already started talking about that, and this is an opportunity to say a little more about that. Number one is the fact that if you need to tackle the issue of security, then you've got to be with the people and be able to wear their shoes and understand exactly how they feel. Recently, I was in Jos East and was talking with the people there about some incident that happened. And the phrase that came out of their response team was basically, thank you to the youth, thank you to the vigilante. Today we were coming from Ganawuri, and the same phrase came out. It means then that access to the farm, access to the tourism sites, access to the mining sites in a safe way must be driven by community security structures. They are the first respondents, and they are the ones that we must empower, and I think I mentioned that. I recently joined the Hunters Association to also get a good insight into how they are dealing with community structures. And I do understand that any community that you go to, whether it is to provide access to the farm or any of these economic pillars, you will need to empower the people that are there. There's none of the vigilantes or hunters group that is receiving any allowance. And they say that the governor doesn't have any allowance, any power over police, soldiers, or over NSCDC even. But the governor has one thing, and that one thing is the security vote. So I can tell you, Stanley, that I am going to ensure that I deploy the security vote efficiently in such a way that we have security that provides access to all the sites. But I think on the long run, for Labour Party, we are not talking about just decentralizing to state police, but we are talking about local police, starting with legalization of the Peace Corps, and secondly, funding for the Vigilante and also the Hunters Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dakum. We'll have to leave that there and move on to the next question. Your manifesto, which is titled, My Plan for a Greater Plateau, addresses an important issue. The inclusion of women, youth, and people living with disability. But it does not provide much detail. So what exactly would you do to improve the inclusion of marginalized groups?
The first thing that we need to do is, let me take example of both women and young people, is education. And if you want to remember the details of that, look at them in the 4 E's that I have outlined. 1 is education, 2 is entrepreneurship, 3 is employment, and 4th is empowerment. And for each of these groups, the women and the young people especially, including, of course, the other vulnerable groups, we are talking about ensuring that girl-child education is addressed. Number 2, you are also ensuring that young people will require knowledge. And when I say education, we're not just talking about education that goes secondary, university, etc. We're talking about looking at our skill development centers. What have we done with the 2 skill development centers that we have? They are dead. We also will have partnership that should ensure that we provide the adequate training to our young people using the industrial training fund that is already based here. A lot of work is already ongoing in that partnership, and I intend to strengthen that. The other is, of course, ensuring that they are empowered. Young people and women need access to funds. It means then that as a government, we are going to ensure that locally we open up that access by ensuring that the local banks and also the development banks prioritize young people and women in terms of provision of funding. And we've already started identifying where we can get all these funds. The central bank has a development arm, and recently Plateau State was able to access 6 billion by an individual for the purpose of just wheat farming. But if you go to that place, you'll see that 6 billion has not been spent. We will use that one, not only the central bank development section, but also the African Development Bank. And I do have friends across the development community, and they have promised to come forth to ensure that we provide all the needed funding, especially for vulnerable groups.
All right, thank you very much. The next question. The state's total debt stock is about 200 billion naira. The execution of your manifesto would require heavy capital injection. For example, you have plans for urban renewal, housing, market development, waste management, etc. How would you achieve all of this, given that we are in a hole for 200 billion naira already?
First of all, as I did say earlier on, you have got to first of all zero out. By zero out, I'm not meaning that you have paid the debts, but you have already now taken the economy of the state in terms of the little that is coming from the internally generated revenue and federation account, and prudent management and blocking of leakages. We have estimated that if you have good governance, especially in preventing leakages through contracts alone, you are going to save, in terms of contracting, close to 100% of what the contracting sums are. Secondly, if you are able to now efficiently manage the areas where revenue is coming from through digitization and ensuring that whatever it is that you need to pay to government, pay online. And if you are able to do this one, you also increase it by another 15 to 30%. This will enable us get the credit score that we require in order to access funds. And also, development partners, if they understand the fact that you will be able to do what they have asked you to do, they don't need a counterpart funding all the time. It's not all development partners that need counterpart funding. The World Bank, we have already started discussing with their sector on development, and they are prepared to provide the funds that are needed for a startup. It means then that as a government that is labor-oriented, we have access to a lot of facilities in terms of funding. Now, immediately we are able to get to this. The money is going to be invested in those three economic pillars of agri-tourism and mining. And then gradually over a year, in the next 2 years, we'll be able to provide all that is needed in massive infrastructure, especially road, especially water, and especially electricity. These are all areas that once we put the funds in, more money will come in. And nobody pays tax without seeing the benefit of the tax. So we will let people understand the benefit of what they are being taxed for.
Thank you very much. Final question to you. In the Labour Party manifesto, you quoted the National Bureau of Statistics, where Plateau State got zero capital importation from 2019 to 2022. This means that no foreign investor came to the state to do business within that period. You have, however, stated that in your manifesto that your plan is to pursue PPP arrangements in different sectors, tourism, infrastructure, etc. So what would you do differently to attract private sector participation and especially to attract foreign investment?
I think the first thing is trust. The first thing is trust because I've worked in the development community for the past 30 years. And I can tell you that when investors are trying to say they are going to put their money in your state, the first thing they are looking for is, can we trust this person? And I believe that given the connections that I already have developed globally, the issue of trust is also not going to be a difficult thing. Number two is, of course, in implementation, we talk about small test of change. Small test of change means that you are not going to be going to collect $1 billion. If you want to now get that trust established, you will collect $10 million. Within 3-4 months, you have executed it properly. I can tell you they will add 2 zeros behind that when they are giving you funds. The other thing is that Plateau State is blessed with people in the diaspora. At the last interaction we had with them, I did say that as a governor of Plateau State, I'm not going to be having wasted journeys internationally. We have Plateau people all over the globe, in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in different places. These are people that will be able to work in the interest of the state, and they are willing to. Remember that recently they said, we will bring 10 billion. They didn't even give a condition. It means then that if I put the trust in their hand, and I give them the opportunity, I can tell you that they alone will be able to attract those investors. Secondly, investors will want to know that they are secure. And I'm going to reassure them, because for every investor, I have already made it clear to those I have started conversation with that, one, you are going to be guaranteed your personal security, your company will be guaranteed personal security, and then your workers also. And then you will be able to have the tax rebates that are necessary for you to make the profit for which you are investing in Plateau. And I can tell you the list of people are just many.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dakum, candidate of the Labour Party. It's been a pleasure listening to all four candidates. It's time for us to take another break. This break will last for 5 minutes. Please remain at your seats. We have a documentary and a short video from one of our partners, which would be airing within that time. Our candidates would be excused for the next few minutes to go backstage shortly and refresh themselves in preparation for the last session. And this session would include questions coming from the audience. It promises to be very exciting, and I think that all of you would be looking forward to that. Thank you very much. We will be right back.
In what could best describe the birth of a beautiful baby? The Plateau Gubernatorial debate was birthed when beautiful and adorable minds thought it wise to contribute their quota in the growth and strengthening of democratic governance in Plateau. Members of Plateau Intelligentsia, PI, Movement for the Protection of Plateau Heritage, MOPLA, and Viewpoint Nigeria came together in 2015 to host the first ever Plateau Gubernatorial debate. Even though it was a novel idea, significant and commendable results were recorded. Then came the 2019 gubernatorial debate, the second in the series. At this time, the members drawn from the Plateau Intelligentsia, Movement for the Protection of Plateau Heritage, and the Viewpoint Nigeria metamorphosed into the Plateau debate group. The second debate was held, which was clearly an improvement from the first, as the lessons learned from the first helped in shaping up the second edition. The logistics, security, media engagement, and publicity was brilliant. To make the process of conducting debate more credible, the Plateau Debate Group was registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission, the process that saw the change of the Plateau Debate Group into Plateau Debate Guild, still with the slogan PDG. 2023 is upon us. The third in the series is here. As a build-up to today's debate, the group held several media engagements with the sole aim of advancing the knowledge about why debate and what debate does to the growth and democracy of any nation. The beauty of what the Plateau Debate Guild has done in few months to today is what will climax here in few minutes, with four candidates taking the stands. Candidates of the All Progressives Party APC, Dr. Nentawe Yilwada, Labour Party, Dr. Patrick Dakum, PDP, Barrister Caleb Mutfwang, and PRP, Mr. Luca Pampe. This event is brought to you by the Plateau Debate Guild in partnership with the Plateau Radio Television Corporation, United States Institute of Peace, Plateau State Diaspora Development Association, USA, the Inclusive Friends Association, YIAGA Africa, and the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPSS. No doubt support came from TEKAN DEX, Fly Pharmaceuticals Ltd, Dorretts Supermarket and Pharmacy, Moulds Nigeria Ltd, and Chrome Connections. Others are Plateau State Bloggers Online Media, Nigerian Film Corporation, Rekta Parks and Garden, Plateau Intelligentsia Development Initiative, Viewpoint Nigeria, and the Philip Labi Foundation. PRTV Channel 29, Channel 113 on Star Times, Channel 504 on Free TV, and Unity TV will be broadcasting. Similarly, we are live on Peace 90.5 FM, KT 103.9 FM, J 101.9 FM, Highland 101.5 FM, Unity 93.3 FM, and Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja. To make streaming seamless, Bentuplex, MAGtv, and Simplicity Concept are making that possible, as the 2023 Plateau Gubernatorial Debate will also be live on www.plateaudebateguild.org live and Firstwave TV through to their YouTube and on Facebook and Twitter pages at Plateau Debate. Welcome to the 2023 Plateau Gubernatorial Debate, a program of the Plateau Debate Guild which offers a platform for issue-based debate and accountability for the peace, governance, and development of Plateau State. You're all
elections. So how can you do this? How can you prevent election rigging at your polling unit on election day? We share a few tips with you. So 1, show up early at your polling unit on election day. If you show up early, it's one way to stop election rigging because it gives you an opportunity to observe every activity at your polling unit. Now, this will enable you cross-check the following sensitive materials. You've got to shine your eyes and ensure that these materials are available at your polling unit. 1 is the ballot papers, 2, result sheets, 3, the BVAS device. Now, before accreditation and voting begins, ensure you verify that the BVAS has 0 figure for accreditation. Next, after accreditation and voting, remain at the polling unit to watch the process until ballot papers are counted. Closely monitor the ballot counting process and ensure the results are recorded on the original form, and it's the form EC8A for the polling unit. Then you need to ensure the INEC official takes a photo of the authentic results for that polling unit using the BVAS only. Only the BVAS should be used to take image of the result sheet. Now, once the photo of the result sheet is taken, closely watch to ensure the INEC official uploads the results on the INEC election results viewing portal using the BVAS. Now, where there is no network to transmit the results at the polling unit, we encourage you to accompany the INEC official with the BVAS to any location with network and verify the result is transmitted electronically. Lastly, you request that the INEC official post the polling unit's result at the polling unit using the form EC60E. Every polling official is required to post the results of that polling unit at the polling unit. If possible, after all this, you can accompany the INEC officials and the electoral materials to the Ward Collation Center to monitor the ward level collation of results within your particular ward. And please feel free to take pictures and videos of activities at the polling units because the law provides that you can, whether party agents take video recordings of political activities. And we encourage you can share these videos and pictures on social media and tag INEC Nigeria, tag YIAGA on Twitter or on Facebook or Instagram, or use the hashtag Nigeria Decides 2023 or the hashtag Watching the Vote. Welcome to Elections 101 in 5. From now to the top of the hour, you will be getting useful information and key tips to help you understand Nigeria's voting system and the Electoral Act 2022. This program focuses on the how and not who to vote, and it's brought to you by YIAGA Africa and supported by the UNDP. My name is Samson Itodo. Let's get started. What is INEC Election Results Viewing Portal and how it is used? Here are some answers from the street.
To my own understanding, it's a place where people go to check their results when the election has been conducted.
Me, I don't normally know anything about it much, but I have heard about it before.
It gives Nigerians access to view results from their comfort zone.
Well, lovely responses from the street. The INEC Election Results Viewing Portal is an online web portal where polling unit level results are uploaded to allow citizens view copies of election results as compiled and recorded at the polling unit upon the conclusion of voting at an election. The portal promotes transparency and credibility of the electoral process, and it's used for electronic transmission of results. So this is how it works. After voting and counting of ballots and results have been entered in the form EC8A, the polling unit official will take a photo of the result sheet, and that's the form EC8A, using the BVAS device. Then the photo of that result sheet will be uploaded immediately to the online portal for the public, for you and I to view and follow the results. Once it is uploaded on the online portal, citizens can view the results. To access polling unit level results transmitted electronically or published online, here are the procedures. Step 1. Visit www.inecelectionresults.ng and log in or create an account. And that's the official website. To create an account, a person must have an email address. Third, once an account has been created, choose the election and download the election results for the polling unit. It's that simple. And as the election progresses, the portal is updated with new information and results across polling units. As you can see, the processes and procedures are just simple, and that's the way you can access results online. You can also follow the results on election day using the election results analysis dashboard on www.erad.ng, provided by YIAGA Africa and Channels TV. The ERAD will analyze polling unit level results from the IREF portal and display them for public viewing in near real time. So that is the INEC election results viewing portal, a web portal that gives you access as a voter to all results of an election. And that's election.
Honoring this invitation and also for being good sports and responding to all of our questions. Now, it has been a very long session, but we are really at the final hour. And for this hour, the rules are all of the questions are coming from our audience right here in the room. Now, due to time constraints, we will not be able to pass the microphone around as we would have loved to, because we would like to take as many questions as possible. So here is how it's going to go. We're going to have 2 questions from 2 of our partner associations. After that, we will take a few questions which I have here with me from the audience, and then each of our candidates would have 2 minutes to respond to any of these questions that you feel strongly about and that you feel you have a policy statement to make on that. So this is it. Before we do that, I think very quickly, let us get ourselves into the spirit of what we're going to do. Can we all greet one another within a few seconds in our indigenous Plateau languages? Look to your left, to your right. Beautiful Plateau. And Plateau State is a leader in democracy. Thank you very much. And thank you very much. We need to proceed. But as a Mwagavul man from Panyam, permit me to be selfish and let's do the general greeting in my language. When I say Teranga, you say Terang, say Teranga. Thank you. Once again, a quick reintroduction to our candidates representing the All Progressives Congress. We have Dr. Nentawe Yawada Goshwe. Representing the Labour Party, we have Dr. Patrick Dakum. Representing the People's Democratic Party, we have Barrister Caleb Mutfwang. And representing the People's Redemption Party, we have Mr. Luka Panpe. A comrade. Okay, thank you very much. May all of our candidates just listen to our next presentation. I would like to invite the Plateau State Diaspora Development Association.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to stand and recognize all existing protocols governing this event. My name is Moses Dachen, and I am standing here on behalf of the Plateau State Diaspora Development Association, also called PSDDA. We are a parent body that accommodates all Plateau diasporans, and we are blessed and honored to be given this opportunity to address all of you candidates running for the governorship position of our dear state. First, we want to thank and commend you all for your willingness to serve our people and for your desire for a better Plateau. We in Diaspora, we have carefully followed your campaign, and we have seen how you have conducted your campaign with class and dignity. You have transversed and are transversing the length and breadth of our land to sell your candidacy to our people. It is a thing of pride to say Plateau is truly blessed with quality candidates as exemplified by all of you and as demonstrated through all your campaign events. PSDDA is a non-profit organization based in the United States of America and registered with the United States government. We are found on the belief that we can make significant difference in Plateau State and in the lives of its citizens through partnership in ideas, ventures, and small-medium businesses created by Plateau citizens. Our mission is to improve lives in lasting ways by advancing integrated, locally driven solutions for economic development in Plateau State, Nigeria. PSDDA is a community of Plateau professionals, experts in different capacities around the world, both young and old. In PSDDA, you will find doctors, lawyers, professional athletes, distinguished businessmen and women, technology experts, college students, blue-collar workers, artisans, and many more. In addition to the many positive contributions we are making around the globe, our members have immensely contributed towards Nigeria's economic advancement, as evidenced by the remittances by diasporans, which accounts for more than 20% of Nigeria's GDP. As members of PSDDA, it is our desire that our contributions go beyond just remittances. We would love to partner with the next government to channel our efforts proactively towards the growth and development of our dear state. Our organization is willing to partner with any one of you who emerges as our next governor to share our experiences, our expertise, our capacity to advance our state, and to assist our people to enable them to compete on a global scale. Therefore, we want to extract a commitment from all of you. Let me repeat that. We want to extract a commitment from all of you. We believe one of you here tonight will emerge as our next governor. Our first question to each of you is this. Will you be committed? Let me take that again. Will you be committed to working with PSDDA to revive the Diaspora Commission like other states have done, and to open an official channel of communication and relationship with the diaspora? Our second question is in two parts. One, how do you intend to partner with diasporans to bring foreign direct investment on the Plateau? How do you intend to partner with diasporans to bring foreign direct investment on the Plateau? What enabling environment will you put in place for Plateau diasporans to invest their resources, their knowledge, their capacity back home on the Plateau? And the second part of it, how would you want us to hold you accountable to any of the promises you will make here today? How would you want us to hold you accountable? Now, in conclusion, I want to remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to officially invite our next governor seated here among you to come to Dallas, Texas in October of this year to be part of our annual general conference. This will be a gathering of Plateau diasporans in the United States as well as Europe and Canada. We would like you to be our special guest, and we will coordinate you coming to Texas and meeting some of our city council, state officials and federal officials in the government of the state of Texas. Details will be provided later. We also hope to use our annual general meeting to bring the Plateau state government before potential investors. We believe this will set the foundation for various types of partnership and working relationship with private and public sector businesses and individuals in and around the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Lastly, we want to thank you for showing respect to our people by coming here to share your plans and debate your fellow contestants. We want to thank the organizers for putting this epic event, and we appreciate the privilege to partner with the next Plateau State government. We want to thank the Plateau Debate Guild and everyone that has played a role towards making this event a success. And we thank our people for staying peaceful through this election period. God bless you. God bless Plateau State. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Plateau State Diaspora Development Association, for that message and for those questions, which I am sure our candidates have all taken note of. Commitment to reviving the Diaspora Commission, partnering with the diaspora for foreign direct investment, and the question bordering on accountability. Our next question would come from Inclusive Friends. Oh, we have the microphone.
All right, I'm the shortest person in the room this evening. I hope you can see me. All right, permit me to sit on the already established protocol to say we appreciate this very big opportunity. My name is Grace Jerry, and I stand here as a spokesperson to over 30 million Nigerians living with disability, and also a spokesperson for Plateau State persons with disability. Your Excellencies, I would like to first of all remind you that when we talk about the marginalized group, the emphasis is not just women and youth. The emphasis is strongly also on the most marginalized, which are persons with disabilities. So when you are putting together your plans, we need you to have a very, very comprehensive plan for the women, for the youth, for persons with disabilities, for children. And I say comprehensive plan, and not just in passing. Thank you very much. My question is going to be centered around the implementation of the Disability Act, which Plateau State is already, it's already domesticated in Plateau State. Now, Nigeria, the president assented to that bill in 2019. And it's 4 years down the line, 2023, 4 years down the line, I would say to you that Nigerians with disabilities have not experienced life in equal basis as other citizens. And when I talk about experienced life, in terms of employment opportunity, in terms of access to health, inclusive education, in terms of access to political and public life, persons with disabilities have not enjoyed this on equal basis. Access to infrastructures, modification of our buildings, persons with disability. This venue is a typical example. I had to be carried all the way down the fleet of these stairs. And that's to tell you that 4 years down the line, and as Plateau, even as a state that has domesticated this act, we have not seen things happening yet. Next year, 2024, would make it 5 years that the window gap opportunity is given for this act for every government and private sector to put their house in order. Good thing you are coming into power, beginning from part of this year. Now we want to ask, what would be your plan, or what is your plan, comprehensive plan, in terms of economic empowerment for persons with disabilities in line with the provision of the Disability Act, which Plateau State has domesticated? What is your plan for inclusive education for persons with disabilities? What is your plan for employment opportunity for qualified persons with disabilities? What is your plan for creating accessible infrastructure, beginning from even the government house, making sure that every part from the entrance, the reception, to the restroom is accessible for every form of clusters of disability? And what would be your plan for political representation of persons with disabilities within your cabinet? Now I'm talking about commissioners, I'm talking about special assistant, I'm talking about personal assistant, or those various positions. What are your plans for those political representation of persons with disabilities? Now I want you to address this question, speaking to numbers and, if possible, percentage. This is the number that I'm going to start working with within the first year, within the 4 years. These are the numbers in terms of affirmative plan, attaching like an affirmative plan to what you are going to do as regards number and percentage. And lastly, I know that 3 of the candidates here recently signed the commitment form on the governance agenda for Inclusive Nigeria, the GAIN document. And we want to appreciate you for signing that commitment. But the Plateau persons with disabilities are seated in this room. My colleagues, my brothers and sisters from the Disability Commission, from the Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities, and all the various disability clusters, they are seated in this room. My second question, we would like to hear an open confirmation again from you to say that we are going to comply. We are going to implement not just the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act, but we would also implement recommendations within the governance agenda for Inclusive Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. May we have brief responses from each of our candidates, beginning with Dr. Goshwe.
Let me start with Grace Jerry. Grace Jerry, you know that when I was in INEC, I was part of the team that worked on the disability rights in terms of voting rights. I was part of the committee that worked at the national level that brought about people with disability having access to voting rights. Secondly, I spent 4 years in Gindri sitting with somebody with disability to assist a blind person so they can have support for education. So I will be one of the persons that will be at forefront to ensure that people with disability have access to basic rights. The first, like I said, we're setting aside 10% of the state IGR to ensure that people with disability, youths and women, have access to equity, have access to matching grants, have access to liquidity, so that they can create their cooperative. All we need to do is cooperative from the people with disability, and they can access this money at no interest rate. So giving them 0 interest rate access to credit, we ensure people with disability will have a flight start for them to start their businesses, SMEs, and they participate in the economy. Secondly, in terms of education, like I said, I supported people with disability in secondary school. Basically, it's for them to provide schools that can take care of them. And school for the blind, school for and different disability will be inclusive in our program to ensure that they have institutions that will provide for them. But most importantly, apart from the legal framework, is to have the operational framework. For now, the state have the legal framework, but we don't have the operational framework. When I come as the governor of the state, come May 29, I'll ensure that I set up an institution that will work on the operational framework of this legal framework. So the operational framework, like you know, is the operational one that works on the legal framework. So the operational framework will ensure that all the details that are in the disability right are implemented in terms of education, in terms of job opportunity, in terms of health, and every other thing, in terms of political appointment too. It will interest you also to know that I was the first to interact with the people with disability on the plateau before my primaries and after my primaries. And that I will do also by providing political appointment for them to ensure that part and parcel of my government. Thank you.
Dr. Dakom. Thank you very much. Let me start with persons with disability. I have already indicated the fact that one of the expertise I bring in there is implementation science, and that's converting things that are in terms of plans into outputs. And this is the experience I'm bringing to bear. There is Professor Simon Guteng. He lives in the United States, and he teaches in the Gallaudet University. He's about retiring, and we're already in discussion with him because he is the initiator of the agency that we have and the act in Nigeria as a whole and that of Plateau. And when I was a commissioner, we were the ones that pushed for that. Professor Guteng, we have already discussed, come back home once you are through, because we've got to turn this plan into actionable points. And I'm confident that May 29th, when he comes for my swearing in, he is going to assume duty. The other thing is, of course, access to facilities. We've got to work with the building society to change the building codes. Without that, people will just build anyhow. I feel very, very bad, especially when we go for rallies as politicians, that persons with disability, we either take the microphone down to them or take it up. My representative in my campaign in charge of the persons with disability warned me before that make sure that you do this. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible. Let me leave that. Funding and also contracts will ensure that persons with disability are given priority. It's done everywhere. Let me not leave out partnerships with Diaspora in the last 20 seconds. I believe that the experience I had by establishing Plateau State Virology Research Center here, by going to the United States to get technical partners, we will replicate it from May 29, 2023. And I can tell you that the Congress in Texas will be there. Finally, I'm committed to both. Whatever agreement with you and also with persons with disability. Thank you.
Barrister Mutfwang.
Am I on? Okay. Thank you, my dear sister, for raising these issues. I think the starting point for me is that all of us must repent because our attitudes are wrong. Dr. Nentawe spent only 4 years in Gidre. I spent 5. So I stayed longer with people with disability to the extent that they have become personal friends for life. And they don't need to be pitied. They don't need to be sympathized with. What we need to do is to recognize that they are human beings that deserve to live. And my dear sister, I can assure you that I will lead by example. For those of you who remember the 2018 local government elections, Mangu local government, in which with all sense of humility I played a critical part, we brought out a chairmanship candidate who was a person with disability. We led by example. And he won the election, but it was denied us. That's a story for another day. So with this impact of people, I believe that one has developed a sufficient empathy to be able to ensure that we carry out the affirmative action for people with disability or physically challenged people, and to be able to ensure that we make life better for them and to make sure they contribute their quota to the progress of society. This commitment you have from me. For the Perseda, I said it in one of our interactions, I'll be setting up an office of diaspora engagement. This is a commitment, and by the grace of God, we will stand by it. Thank you.
Mr. Pampe.
Thank you very much. Well, in line, I would want to also make a commitment. If we are going to go with the 23 ministries that we currently have on the plateau, then of course 3 will go to members of that persons living with disability, which is a specific commitment in State Executive Council. And if we would also take a decision to reduce that, because we would want to also reduce cost of governance to 17 ministries, then of course we'll still give them 3 slots for a start. Because you cannot shave a man's head in his absence. They will have to participate in the system to be able to also have a voice. And then the politicization of the operational structure of disability on the plateau is something that we'll also work on. Because I recall vividly that at the time persons living with disability had to protest the kind of imposition of who was to be in the head of that particular agency that is concerned with disability issues. So we will not politicize it. We'll go for credibility, voice of persons living with disability. And that way, we'll be able to take it comprehensively to address issues associated with them. Our fiscal infrastructure component will also make provision for that. In terms of roads, in terms of bridges, in terms of our school systems. Go to our tertiary institutions and you find out that somebody taking lectures on the 4th floor will have to be carried to that place. And I think we need to look at that. Even our hospitals, including Jos University Teaching Hospital, the facilities that are supposed to lift them up have also collapsed. So we'll also work on those areas to ensure that we move together. How would I partner with the Diaspora Committee to community to be able to attract DFI? It's very simple. The candidate of Papa Mama has said that trust is important.
Sorry, pardon the interruption. Let's get a microphone in. And I will use my discretion as a moderator because there were 3 critical questions asked by the Diaspora. The question of the revival of the Diaspora Commission, partnering with Diaspora for foreign direct investment, and also how the Diaspora can hold the government to account of these promises that are made here today. So I would just like to quickly add 1 more minute to each candidate. Let's just move back so you can speak on the speak to the questions from the Diaspora.
Okay, fine.
We will move back in the same direction.
Okay.
that we came backwards.
Okay. So, do we take it from there? Oh, okay, fine.
Yes.
Yes. Would I partner with the Diaspora?
Timekeeper, just 1 minute.
Would I partner with Diaspora? The answer is yes. I will partner with Diaspora. There is no need that we will shy away from it, given the fact that the diasporians are very important. If you look at what flew in as direct foreign investment in the first Q1 of last year, it was around $24 billion, and that is huge. If you look at Tomato just located here in Kaduna, it attracted about $2.4 billion diaspora. And if raw materials are coming from Plateau State, to be able to cater for that, I see no reason why we should not have it here. And one way is to open this link of communication. Like I always say, that communication is very critical. If we don't do with them, definitely they are not going to do with us. So definitely we'll open up that space to be able to ensure that we tap from the reservoir of resources there. How do you hold me accountable? I think that's the 3rd question. Yes, I will support any legislation that will facilitate citizen accountability in terms of holding leaders accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Engagement with the diaspora, whether through a commission or through whatever framework we find most appropriate, is a definite yes. How do you intend to partner with the diasporans to bring foreign direct investment? While we create the enabling environment locally, we'll also be able to engage some of your own diasporans so that we can raise the level of trust. How do you hold us accountable for any promises you make today? I want to believe that our pedigree is enough collateral. We give you our word of honor before the general public, before Plateau people, that this, by the grace of God, will do. And when we fail to do it, you can ask Plateau people to judge us. Thank you.
Partnering with the diaspora is, for me, a must, because that's the only way we'll be able to balance up in terms of our economic drive. And the areas I believe that we'll focus on will include education, technology, health, and agriculture. Establishing an agency would be an extremely useful thing, and we'll be doing that. You will hold me accountable because I am going to sign an MOU even before I'm elected, since I know that I'll be there, so that you will start holding me accountable now. So we'll sign an MOU. Then the other thing is that apart from the Congress in Texas of the diasporans, I believe that there are several. I've attended a couple. The oil and gas downstream I attended in Houston. And I believe that the diaspora will be able to ensure that they make the connections with the other relevant meetings that we have. Do the legwork, get the commitment. My job is to come there. Once the judicial sign it off with Pajok as deputy, bye-bye, Mungama Musa Anukena.
Working with the diaspora is a must do, so I affirm to that. But most importantly, I'm not going to use diaspora just for direct foreign investment only, but for export of our assorted crops, our assorted vegetables and fruits on the plateau, which are unique to Plateau State. I was in a hotel in UK, and I got the fruits that I ate in that place labeled imported from Yola in Nigeria. Having those same things, liaising with the diaspora, I'll get the market spaces in US, UK, and other European countries to ensure that I export most of the assorted crops from Plateau State so that I boost the economy at the local level, apart from attracting direct foreign investment, to ensure the investment comes in. Now, where export comes in, attract the investors, indirectly. Thirdly, you hold me accountable, because you can check my track record of what I've been doing before. For everywhere I go to, I've worked with accountability, monitoring and evaluation of me as a person, as a track record of my personality, and that I will do when I become the governor of the state.
Thank you very much. We now move on to the questions from the audience, and we got quite a number of questions. Unfortunately, we cannot take them all, so there are a few that have been selected. I will read all of them, and the candidates can feel free to respond to the ones that they feel most strongly about as far as policy is concerned. The first one we have here is from FIDA Plateau, the Federation of Women Lawyers. And the question goes, considering the level of violence against vulnerable women and children in the state, what do you intend to, or rather, how do you intend to secure a safe home for the survivors, since the first response for the violated is to remove them from that environment? We have another question. This one is from Dr. Baligan Audu William. I hope I got that right. The NMA chairman from seat 182. The question goes, how or what are your plans for leadership in the health sector? How do you intend to retain doctors in Plateau State hospitals, given the Japa syndrome? Question 3, from the National President of NIPSS, Jerry Mantim, from seat 197. And Jerry says, looking at the consistent upward review of tuition fees, what do you have to offer to Plateau State students to ameliorate their challenges? Question number 4 from Dr. Sam Quiz, seat 183. What are your plans for Plateau State hospitals with regards to manpower and equipment? I think that is very closely related to question 3. And then from a gentleman called Joseph, seat 198. Any plans for housing, as Plateau State has not built any housing projects in the last 40 years or more? So for each candidate, let's have 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond to any one or two of these questions, or as many as possible.
Let me start with housing. Plateau State has been contributing to the housing fund for donkey years. Plateau State has not benefited or taken in loan from the housing scheme. Given me as a governor of the state May 29th, first I'll provide land, which will be equity for us to access this loan, ensure that this grant come to the state, which will be a multi-billion naira projection. It means it will revive the much needed economic injection, because that like a bailout, a housing unit in the state, we inject a fresh fund into the economy. That done, I will ensure that the state economy is returned back so that the funding in the housing unit is reinforced. Secondly, working on the housing unit also will create so many multiple jobs. If we do that, we'll create people that will supply our own basic things like building materials, artisans will come in, electricians, and several jobs will be created. That will tempt insecurity in the state, because most people who are actually on the street will move down to create jobs. Then thirdly, I'll ensure that most of the materials are sourced locally, and I'll create the locals to access funding from this loan so they can become part and parcel of the building materials market. That will ensure that the locals are part of the economy of the state and begin a fresh economy across the state that will inject the state in a new, fresh area. But most importantly, housing will be built across the state. Workers will have housing at a cheaper rate. People, both the private and public sector, will have housing at a cheaper rate. That will place Plateau State among the modern economy. But most importantly, I will plan this housing unit and inject a fresh energy into the housing unit in the state. But let me just quickly look at the second one, which talk about the leadership, the leadership in the hospitals. For me, as a governor of the state, the first thing we need to do is to ensure that
you can round up. You can round up.
Okay.
Very quickly.
Now, for the hospitals and the manpower within the hospitals, bringing public partnership would be very important for the state to ensure that we bring new energy to the hospitals. Having one hospital senatorial zone where leadership is by partnership, so that state government can inject funding, will bring partnership, private partnership, will ensure that the hospitals are restored, they provide quality service to people, equipment are being supplied to them, manpower is up there, and the manpower from the state will get trained within those capacity, learn capacity from the private sector, bring quality of service to the people, and that will improve the quality of service people will have in the health sector, which will be paramount to us succeeding as a government.
Okay. Dr. Dakun?
Thank you very much. Federation of Women Lawyers, I think the issue of gender-based violence is very, very key. And one of the first things that I believe as governor I should do is to replicate what I currently am doing in my institute, and that is having a specific unit for gender-based violence headed by a very senior officer. And so, Ministry of Women Affairs will have a directorate on gender-based violence. It is very, very serious, and we'll take it as serious as that. And I'll give an example of why I think it's very serious. The legal framework related to justice for victims will be reviewed with increased punishment for people who are found guilty. And I believe that my learned deputy will work on that very quickly. The other issue, of course, and I've said it and people laughed about it, self-defense. Let's not joke about it. I've been to Bangladesh, and in Bangladesh, gender-based violence crashed from a whooping 75% to less than 10%. And how? They equipped the young girls on karate. They are not being equipped in order to beat men. No, they are equipped for self-defense and taught to be patient. And so we will introduce that in schools in a graduated way. And for me, as an implementation guy, we'll pilot it and silence in the hall. Sorry. Then the other thing, of course, is retention of doctors, a needs-based training, and also hiring according to the needs. We will deal with that one. Then education fees, we are going to use a tuition remissions graduated scholarship, and we'll do that. Then, of course, the issue of housing is an issue that I believe we will be doing both a public-private one, in the sense that government will do the layouts, and I think there are 2 or 3 layouts that are there. Ours is to open access to the funding. The Federal Mortgage Bank housing scheme is not effective, and therefore we'll look for a state-based one in order to ensure that people get what they need in terms of housing. And I believe that...
Thank you very much. Barrister Mutfwang.
Thank you. Gender-based violence, I hope from karate we will not have collateral damage. But let me say this, that we need to become strong on law enforcement. We need to be sure that there are sufficient laws that need to be implemented. And I think we need to be proactive in implementation. We also need to engage the faith-based organizations so that we can reform our theology. The theology that tells the woman to stay and die in a violent marriage, we need to look at it again. We need to also look at how we engage, particularly the law enforcement agencies. I think we need to change their orientation. And if we have an ombudsman that deals with that process, I think it will improve a lot, because a lot of women go to the police station and they are humiliated. We need to also look at the healthcare sector, how to stop the brain drain. We need to improve the working environment for our doctors in terms of remuneration, provision of equipment, and the necessary tools they need to function with, so that they can feel they are actually contributing their best. Tuition fees, I've spoken about this at several fora. We're going to bring back the issue of Bulga, like some of us used to know. We'll definitely bring it back. Housing plan, we will certainly commit the private sector in this process so that we can be able to expand the scope of housing for our people, while we are also trying to arrest the urban slums that are coming up, particularly within the Jos City. We need to begin to come up with decent housing plans for our people going forward. But the private sector will take the lead as appropriate. Thank you.
Mr. Pampe.
Thank you very much. First, the Japa syndrome. Stanley, you cannot sell your dog because it doesn't bark to buy monkey, thinking that it's going to bark for you. So we have to look at the push and pull factors clearly. So for us, we must be able to look at the factors that push our doctors away. And that is a poor reward system. In this state, we have seen doctors carrying leafs and placards protesting for their basic salary. That narrative is going to change in the true sense of it. There are government facilities that are lying fallow that government is not using, like the greenhouse government house. What is it for? Why not if we convert it as part of our infrastructures for health? These are fundamental things that we need to do. We cannot embark on wide elephant projects in the name of legacy with regards to health facilities that are even not completed at this material point in time. So we also have to be serious in terms of dealing with the health sector.
Please let's remain silent. Yes. Observe the rules.
Then again, the issue of housing is very fundamental. Plateau is one of the states today, particularly the metropolis, that you cannot Google, put it on Google and say you are trying to describe a particular house and find it, because the numbering system, the town planning has collapsed. We have to go back to that one and ensure that we do adequate town planning and have adequate or deliberate plan for civil servants housing scheme like other states are doing, and give it to them, you know, as mortgage, so that we'll be able to empower them to have houses as it were. And then again, with student and tuition fees, that is not something to negotiate. I've been in the education sector and it's my area of convenience. We see high tuition fees without commensurate benefit for students. First thing we need to do is to crash them down. Give subvention to these schools, particularly public educational institutions, and ensure that they don't need to fall back on the students and tax them higher in terms of tuition, simply because they want to maintain their facilities. Hostel facilities, security on campuses, lighting facilities, ICT facilities, these are critical. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all of our candidates. You have heard from all of them. And the event is very quickly coming to an end, but we will not leave until we do a little bit of housekeeping, and this one involves fact-checking. Has anything been said that was not quite correct, or on the other hand, maybe correct? We have professionals who are doing that here, and we are now going to be receiving the fact-check report. And to do that, I would like to invite Mr. Pankes Niang.
Thank you very much, sir. Can we stream, please? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, our candidates. The aim of this section is to draw your attention to the times we are in. For everything you stay on the campaign trail or in whatever discussion forum you are in, people are checking live. And that helps for you to make sure that the facts the things you are saying are factual. Now, can we have the fact check result, please? Thank you. So while you were making your comments, we had quite, and sorry to break your neck, we would have had it on another screen for you to see. But PRP alluded to the fact that there are over 5,000 illegal schools in existence in Plateau State. And we couldn't get a document to that effect, but we were able to find related material that points to similar figures, and for that reason we scored that particular information a partially true for the fact check. Next. The APC candidate rightly noted the installed capacity of NESCO and the current amount of megawatts they are churning out. And that's a true fact. Next, please. The Labour Party candidate also rightly, mentioned the ranking of Plateau State in the ease of doing business schedule among the 33 states. And you can see that we are a distant 14. So the onus will be on you all, the four of you seated here, in collaboration with whoever wins, to ensure that we get as close to number one as possible. So that was a correct fact as sourced from Budget 2022 report. So next, please. The PDP candidate also truly and rightly noted that there was zero greenback dollar inflow into Plateau State from 2019 to 2022. And so the Diaspora Association has made an offer that I hope whoever wins amongst you will take it. And according to Budget 2022 report, this is a true fact, which was also touched upon by the Labour Party candidate. So the PRP candidate also gave the statistic of 72.9% of people in Plateau State who are multidimensionally poor. And it was correct. Now, that paints a gory picture to whoever gets to Little Rayfield. The Plateau Debate Guild wishes that person luck, because we want that number to crash. Is that all? So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the candidates for... we didn't find any of your facts false. So that's a credence to the work they've put into for this debate. Thank you very much.
Okay, we are free to clap now, since the debate. All right, I've been told by our producers that before we take our vote of thanks, which will be coming up next, very quickly we would like to have members of the Plateau Debate Guild come for a picture session with our candidates. We will do that within the next 1 minute. We have roughly 60 seconds. So if members of the guild can quickly make your way to the stage, and after that, we will have the vote of thanks. Members of the Board of Trustees as well, please step forward to be photographed with our candidates.
Your future is better than your past, yeah. The altar of the Lord rested here for years. Missionaries found rest in you, the blessed land. They called it Plateau of the Prophecy, yeah. Back in the days, back in Nigeria, everyone wanted to settle down in you and build a home, raise a family. Men sought your shadows just to find a resting place. But I can see you coming, I can see you smiling, running. Your children are saying, welcome, welcome, oh Plateau. You surely will rise again. Whoa. I can see you emerging like never before. I can see a unity like never before. I can see it coming, I can see it rising. I can see it spreading from one tribe to the other. I can see the Plateau people speaking one language. I can see the Plateau people looking at the future. I can see one Plateau, I can hear one song. I can see one tribe, one voice, one dream. I can hear a clarion call on the Plateau. You are the Plateau of the Prophecy, the clock of Nigeria.
Celebrate the Plateau of the Prophecy. This message is from PRTVC, committed to you.
Much. Can everybody make their way back to their seats so that we can bring this event officially to a close? We have one more item, and that is to get our vote of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, please let us give a warm welcome to Dr. Pokop Bopwada, member of the Board of Trustees of the PDG.
Your Excellencies, by the grace of God, come May 29, 2023. Yes, I'm saying Excellencies because any of them could be by the grace of God. We are deeply grateful for honoring this invitation. I stand here on behalf of the chairman who we tendered his apology from the beginning of this debate. That's Dr. Chris Kwaja, who is unable to be with us. So he asked me to do this on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Debate Guild. Sirs, we're grateful. I want another commitment from you that you will encourage this kind of debates to deepen our democracy. I think that's one of the things that we need to get them to sign. That after your first tenure, you present yourself for another debate. Then we will we'll assess you based on what you have said today. It's a document that we will use for your midterm, like a midterm election, where we will assess what you've said and we'll bring fact checks because it's documented. Thank you very much. Are you committed to this? Well, thank you very much. So at least it's documented that they are committed to this. Let me start by appreciating the organizers. As a Board of Trustees is a trust that has been given unto us, and we come from diverse background. I appreciate the Plateau Debate Guild itself, the DG, Dr. Meshach Daniel Jato, and the team that have worked tirelessly together with him to ensure that we have this as a success. Some years back, we went for a retreat in Miango Rest Home, planning this about 2 years back, and by the grace of God, it has come to fruition. Our partners, the Plateau Radio Television Corporation, with the GM here, we are grateful. The OB van has been useful since we started this. This is the 3rd edition, and we are grateful for this partnership. The United States Institute of Peace, which, coincidentally, our chairman is the country director of this. They've supported us immensely. We're grateful. The Plateau State Diaspora Development Association, we are deeply grateful for your support. They are not just here in person, but they've supported financially as part of the partners to deepen the democracy in Plateau State. YIAGA Africa, we are grateful for your support, the financial support and partnership. The Inclusive Friends Association, we are grateful for your partnership. The National Institute of Policy and Strategic Study, as you all know, their motto is towards a better society. That is part of the process to ensure that we have a better society where we will hold our leaders accountable. So thank you very much, the DG and the management of National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies. Other supporters, I'll quickly mention TEKAN Peace Dex, the Fly Pharmaceutical, Dorretts Supermarket and Pharmacy, Moulds Nigeria Ltd, and others. We are grateful. Permit me to go and just to wrap up with this. We are grateful to JFM, Highland FM, KTFM, Unity FM, Citizens FM, Bentuplex Media, Firstwave Communications, Simplicity Concept, MAGtv, Plateau State, Bloggers Online Media, Nigerian Film Corporation, Rekta Parks and Garden, Plateau Intelligentsia Development Initiative, Philip Leban Foundation. Others are the security agencies. Without them, the candidates will not even come here. We appreciate the Nigerian Police Force, the Department of State Security, DSS, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, the Federal Road Safety Corps, the NIPSS Internal Security Network, and the Peacemaker Event Bouncers, and all the various committees that made this success. We have the ESCO, the Media and Publicity, Finance, Projects and Logistic, Content Development. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, we say thank you to all of you for making this a success. Above all, the viewers out there, they have stayed all this long to listen to, by the grace of God, one of them, that will be the governor of Plateau State. You've heard what they've said, and I'm sure you've taken notes. We want to appreciate, in particular, the audience for obeying the rules. It was wonderful and peaceful. Above all, our brother Bentu for a wonderful anchoring of this program. Thank you very much, the media team, the crew, and everybody. God bless you, and we wish you we wish all of us a successful 2023 general election. God will give us leaders that fear him, leaders that will look for the welfare of the people. Plateau shall rise again. We shall continue to rise. And I'm grateful to all of you. God bless you all. Thank you.
Shake in the spirit of sportsmanship and brotherhood for the cameras. Ladies and gentlemen,
Let us appreciate our candidates for showing up, for following the rules, and for giving us a memorable evening. We look forward to seeing you again in 4 years. Good night to all of our viewers and listeners at home, and thank you to everyone here. Shall we all rise for the national anthem?